Hi, OGs. Welcome or welcome back to On God with me, Wilhelmina Simono. Mindful, heartful, and purposeful conversations. If it's your first time here, you just found yourself a community of believers who are doing life with Christ one stumble at a time. If you've been with me since episode number 1, it goes without saying, baby, I super appreciate you. Thank you so much for holding space for me as I have been holding space for you. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do the Lord's work, which is subscribe. I don't know if that's the Lord word, if that's the Lord's word, but that's all good. That's all good. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, especially if at the end of the episode you feel like this episode has blessed you, or if you remember any of the episodes that we have, shared, and you feel like, you know what, I think this could be helpful for someone out there. Guys, how cool is this cap? How cool is this cap? So first of all, it was like a 2-in-1. It was begging me to buy it because it has like the Friends, type of look and feel, and then there's also like a Jesus cap. I know when someone is trying to trick me when I see them. So yeah, it was also, it's like in my favorite color. You know how I love earth tones. So we did a thing and a thing that was done and a done and a thing and a done. Like I could not get it. I could not get it. It's super amazing. And also I'm wearing it on a day where I'm just wearing, earth tones because that's the kind of vibe I bring to any table. Down to earth. Guys, I am reading a new book. I didn't buy it. My coach, I think the past 2 weeks I've been reading is because my coach has been just recommending them. And this one is by Joyce Meyer. It's called Approval Addiction, Overcoming Your Need to Please Everyone. So I was shocked sitting across this man and he's telling me that, baby girl, to an extent, you are a people pleaser. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, for real? And he's like, for real? And I'm like, ow, it really hurt. It really hurt. But the thing is, sometimes people pleasing is not like in the most typical way that people like expect it, being a yes man. I don't think I'm a yes man like that, right? But I am so conflict avoidant. Like, you will never catch me in the conflict streets, even if it's to my demise, right? And I think it's because we've just been socialized to think that confrontation is conflict, and which is not the case. Like, I think it was sometime last week, guys. Sometime last week, like, I had such a hard time putting together a message where so listen, if the best way to kidnap me is to tell me you want to go on a coffee run, you got me. I will get in your white van, and you just have to keep telling me we're going to stop for coffee. And that's it. You will have me. You can ask my family for a ransom and you're good to go. So I had coffee with this guy, like, hey, let's grab coffee. And we grab coffee. And then after that, it just felt like they were coming at me differently. And child, it's not even a godly man. So we already know, like, he's lost that battle. He's not even a godly man. And my friend is sitting across me and is like, you need to tell this guy that, 1, why is he blowing up your phone? And 2, it was just coffee. I had such a hard time. And yeah, so anyway, conflict avoidant is also being a people pleaser, because now you're letting other people be comfortable at your own demise. Now I was going to go for another coffee thing, and I don't think I want to go on another coffee thing, especially because now I know that it's not just a coffee thing for you. It's more than a coffee thing, So yeah, this book has been really amazing. I'm not done with it. I'm still like in the early chapters, but there are a couple of things that Joyce calls out that I think as believers we sometimes struggle with as far as our walk with Christ is concerned. And you guys, every page, I'm just like, whoa, Joyce, no, Joyce, yes, underline, highlight. That's how we read the Bible, right? Where you just like, Preach. So, as someone who's a people pleaser, you can imagine how that extends into trying to be a God pleaser. I mean, God does want us to please Him, but not through performance, right? And I tend to do that. And I read this part in the book and I was just like, oh my goodness, it really is as simple as that to please God. Not miracles, not walking on water, not fasting for 120 days, just simple, right? And it reads, if you have been hurt and wounded by people who were difficult or even impossible to please, you may think God is the same way. He isn't. It is not as difficult to please God as we may think it is. Simple, childlike faith pleases Him. He already knows we will not behave perfectly all the time. That is why He sent Jesus to pay for our failures and mistakes. Simple, childlike faith is what pleases God. Keep your logic out of it, baby. Keep your senses out of it. Childlike. Like my son, I get on a phone call with him every other day, and he doesn't cease to remind me that please, when you come, don't forget to come with my train. And I'm going to tell you guys for free, that's childlike faith. He's just believing that, listen, when you show up, you're going to show up with a train. I don't know where you're going to get the money. That's none of my business. I'm not involved. Lady, just bring my train when you come. And I think, anyway, it's a good book. It's a good book. Up to how far I've read, it's a good book. The issue of people pleasing starts with the experiences we've had with other people, and we bring them to God, or we bring them to the new people in our lives. And you know what? That's It's a good book. Maybe I'll give a full review on it when I'm done. But how far I am, get the book. I think another book that I really, really want to read, and if you guys feel like you want to bless me with it, it's okay. You can bless it for me. It's my Christmas gift. It's that book where it says, what's the title of that book again? Um, um Being Mary in a Martha world. For those who don't have context, so there's a part in the book in the Bible where Jesus and the disciples went to Lazarus house, to go visit Lazarus, and Mary was seated at the feet of Jesus, listening to everything that Jesus had to say, the wisdom, the wisdom, the knowledge, everything, right? And Martha was so fixated on making the food perfect, serving everyone, right? And she was too busy until at a point where she was like, Jesus, can you please tell Mary to help me, because golly. And Jesus was like, Martha, Martha, baby, what is you doing? You know what I mean? Like, Mary is getting something that is not going to get anywhere. You know what I mean? So for someone who also works in an industry that can sometimes keep you busy, and I mean busy to a point where sometimes I just get home and I'm tired and I just sleep. So that's no devotion, no sermon, no nothing. And when I wake up in the morning, I'm still feeling a bit beaten. I'm just like, God, you know my heart. I love you. Be with me today. Peace. So it's like, how can I be a Mary in a Martha world? So I think that's my next read. I I'm telling you guys, I can't wait to get that one. The festives are upon us. Oh my gosh. It's like 1 minute you're in Jan and then you blink, it's the last week of November. And you are just like, what is going on? What is happening? The festives are upon us. The plans are always the same for me. I mean, when you live in Joburg, you have to go home. So I love going home. One thing I'm gonna do for you, baby, is go home. Okay, I will go home and be with my family. So that's what I look forward to. But before going, I know Celine and we love having this thing called Friendmas, where we can have like a cute, Christmas little date thing. Last year we did it at Monty, and I think we decided without really deciding, but we decided respectively that Monty is going to be the place because they have these cute decorations up, you guys, and it's just so beautiful. Like I created a cute little picture of the Friendmas, and I was just like, I want to do this. I want to do this all the time. So yeah, festive is upon us. But when we know festive is upon us, we also know that hyper consumerism is upon us. And if you're taking care of 3 kids like me, them kids just be calling, talking about how they want an Air Jordan, how they want a Steve Maiden. You're like, girl, where you think I get this money? Others are looking for trains, and you're like, what, guys? Where do I get this money? So it's also hyper consumerism time. And I would spend, like, at the beginning of each year, it's always the same. I'll be like, I'm gonna open a separate account where I'm just gonna throw money in there so that December, this is the money I spend on everything. Look at me now. Look at me now. Let's get into today's episode. Episode 30, baby. Look what the Lord has done. But the inspiration for today's episode is because one thing I'm going to do for you, baby, you know I will think. Oh, baby, I will ponder. I will think, and thought it. What I do with what I discover after I think may or may not matter. But one thing is for sure, baby, I will think. And lately, I found myself thinking a lot about my wilderness. I found myself thinking about my wilderness and crying a river to God. God, why am I going through this? God, why me? Why not Kanye West? I'm kidding. But just me crying, just me like in my feelings about maybe an unanswered prayer or a difficult time that I'm going through and I'm not seeming to get through it, a lesson that I'm clearly not learning. So all I do is just cry. But in God's mercy, and that's why I always encourage spending time with God. In God's mercy, you learn that as you pray to him about some of the things you're going through, whether it's your wilderness, for example, he will also reveal to you what it is that you need to learn about your wilderness. I think a lot of the time we see the wilderness as punishment. We see it as a difficult period where you're like, God must be punishing me for something that I did in the past. Listen, I learned that God doesn't punish, right? It's only the consequence of the wrong decisions that we make. You know what I mean? If you make a bad, career move, you're going to suffer the consequences. If you make a bad financial move, you're going to suffer the consequences. So God doesn't punish anyone. And that's why, there's something to be said about why God always says, maybe you need to consult me, speak to me about the things in your heart, the things you want to do so you can avoid consequences. You know what I mean? So it's not punishment from God. I don't think God punishes, but I think God knows what's at the end of each decision you need to take, right? And sometimes if the consequences are too severe, God doesn't allow it. And we've spoken about how God allows certain evil to happen as a result of your choices, of course, because he knows what comes at the end of that encounter, at the end of that experience. Maybe it's a character flaw that's revealed to you that you're going to work on. Maybe it's, an idol that you didn't know that you had. Hello? Um, you know, and yeah, right? So some wilderness is to reveal things in us, but what do we do when those things are now revealed, right? And more than anything, the wilderness is almost like an exposure. Whether you made a decision too abruptly, whether you made a decision without thinking too much about it or consulting anyone, it's going to expose a certain character in you. And whether you want to fix it or not, that's entirely up to you, right? Because he's also a God of free will, where he lets you choose. And have the full choice so that you can deal with the consequences of whatever choice it is that you go for, right? So in the book of Deuteronomy, I hope I said it right. Chapter 8, verses 2. Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years to humble you and test you in order to know what was in your heart, whether or not you would keep his command, right? And I remember reading this verse, and, I think the Israelites are the perfect example of people who were in Egypt. They were suffering at the hands of Pharaoh, and God released them. God freed them from slavery. But even as they were in the wilderness, we see certain traits about them that are being revealed, right? We see that the Israelites in the desert were a bit rebellious. They were entitled and they had distrust. They had forgotten that God freed them. They were rebellious. They were unbelieving. At some point, they created their own little gods, right? So that's what was revealed about them in their wilderness. And I also went like on a little escapade, darling, to find more examples of people who, during their own wilderness, we saw a character reveal in them, right? So, Jonah in the belly, we see the disobedience and how stubborn his heart was, right? The disciples during one any both storms actually, where Jesus was sleeping and the one where Jesus walked on water, we see that there is a fear in them. We see that there is a doubt and not believing in Jesus Christ to take care of them, right? The prodigal son who decided to up and leave. And when he was in his wilderness, after he squandered all his inheritance, what we see is that he realizes that I am actually entitled. I have pride and there is impulsiveness, right? We also see Paul pre ministry in that wilderness, he had pride. He had intellectual arrogance. Honey, he had the zeal without the wisdom, right? So these are all the things in the wilderness that get revealed to us if we pay attention. Instead of just seeing it as a punishment season, we must see it as a season where things in us are being exposed. Because in the same chapter in the book of Deuteronomy, in the same chapter in verse 16, we see the part where God says, I give you, I give you manna. I give you manna and all these things that your ancestors never had. And if you obey me, it is also things can go well with you, right? So even in the wilderness, as you're going through it, there's still a level of obedience that is required from you, that is required from me, right? Like there was a time, sweetie, where my finances were a mess. They were, whoa, oh, baby, they were bad. They were down bad. They were down bad, horrendous. They were at the rock bottom of rock bottom. And I remember during that time, I was so frustrated with God. God, why am I always broke? God, why is this always happening to me? God, why don't I ever have money? Why? But God was like, okay, impulsive spender. Hello, how you doing? Right? I never planned for my finances. I never steward my finances. I never did. And I'm not saying I'm perfect now, believe me, but I also know I'm not where I used to be. I have a sense of planning with my finances. I think before making a very impulsive spend, like, do I really need another pair of sneakers, or is it just because these sneakers will make me feel good, right? And if it's a make me feel good, sweetie, go put on some elevation worship. 5 minutes into your worship session, you will feel good. You know what I mean? So some of our wilderness, we need to go through it so things can be revealed in us. And after they are being revealed, what do we do? Do we work on them? Right? I went through a bad financial season. It's one thing for me to be like, okay, that happened. Let's get back into it again. But to be like, okay, I'm in that season because I spent more than I earned. I didn't leave below my means. I was an impulsive, reckless buyer. I was an emotive buyer. You know what I mean? So there's always something to learn in our wilderness. There's always a lesson that God wants to bring forth to you. But the wilderness family is also for endurance, right? The wilderness is for endurance, because in the book of James he tells that we must consider it pure joy when these things happen, because we know as they happen our faith is getting stronger, right? Our faith and trust in God is getting stronger. Obviously during that financial difficulty, I was not born again. I wasn't born again, but there was a weird sense of hope, right? Hope that it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. This needs to happen. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay, right? And I think even though I could say the hope was a bit misplaced, I don't know what it is I was hoping in. I mean, we did go to church as a family. So I think maybe subconsciously I did believe God was going to make it okay. But because I was not an active disciple, an active follower, an active reader of the word, I just knew and hoped it's going to work out. I need to go through this. I need to fix my finances. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Right. But what that did is that it built endurance that even to this day, might have figured out how to be a good planner, a good spender, and whatever. But there are some months, you go broke. You go broke and you're like, I don't know what I don't know. But you trust in God. You have stretched the faith muscle that the God who provides is gonna provide again. The God who gushed water out of a rock, who gave the Israelites manna from above, who parted the Red Sea, who filled the widow's jars with olive oil. He's also going to fill my jars. So the wilderness sometimes is for endurance. As you endure, are you trusting in God? Or just like last week's episode, are you misplacing your hope? What, now you're broke, you're going to go to loan sharks? Now you're broke, you're going to sell your furniture? You're going to get into gambling? Don't do that. That's just nasty business. Don't do it. Right? Which leads us into the last point. The wilderness is also a test for obedience, right? And I just want to read this verse in Exodus 16:14. It's actually Exodus 16, chapter 16, verses 4, right? It says, Then the Lord said to Moses, I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way, I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions, right? What a small instruction. It's a very small instruction from the Lord to the Israelites that I'm going to give you guys bread and you need to take enough for just that day. Will you listen and follow instruction, no matter how small it is, even in your wilderness? Right? When you are sitting there complacent in your sin and God is saying, I know you feel like you are too far gone, but for just this week, please don't text them. Are you able to endure? Hey, I know you don't have money and it looks like a very rough week, but please, until Friday, don't borrow money from anyone. It's going to be good. You're stressed, you're not thinking straight. Please don't touch the bottle just for this week. I will give you enough strength to cope without the bottle. Can you endure? Our wilderness also tests our obedience. Can we wait on God to see us through to the promised land? And my promised land and your promised land might be different, but we all know there's something necessary about a wilderness season. And it's important that we don't just sit and say, wow, he must be punishing me from that one time I took that 2 rand from my mom and never gave it back to her. Child, when he says mercies are made you, I don't think he was tripping. I don't think he was joking, quite literally. So, will you keep the hope in your wilderness? Hopeful that this will end. Hopeful that there's a lesson at the end of this. Hopeful that the God who started the work in you will see it to completion until the day of Christ. Are you going to be hopeful in your wilderness? So, you're going through something right now. You're worried, sick that God is not taking you out of it. Maybe it's just time to step back and say, but what is the lesson? How did I end up here? What decision did I make to end up here? What do I need to do to endure? Am I even enduring? And am I being obedient in my endurance? Because relying on the bottle during your time of wilderness, baby, that's not endurance. That's not obedience. So maybe let's not look at our wilderness, at our low seasons as punishment of as God trying to get back at you. It's one of those. I made my bed and now I'm gonna lay in it. And as I'm laying, what is it in me that is being revealed? Am I greedy? Am I a people pleaser? Am I conflict avoidant? Hello. What is the season revealing in me? Is love an idol? I told you, like this season, God is just revealing things to me as far as romantic relationships are concerned. And that's my season. That's my season. And that's all I have time for you this week, family. I hope this episode has blessed you and you start seeing your wilderness differently. Otherwise, stay mindful, stay heartful, stay purposeful, love, and